very good evening to you. It is the 24th day of March 2019 in our top stories.
Tonight, children in Baringo bearing the brunt.
Ako na wiki moja kama hajakula chakula yote mpaka jana wakati alienda hospitali akapewa Plaminat.
Relief food taking longer to reach the famished.
Chakula cha msaada ilikuja huku kama ilikuwa ni last 2017.
Plus,
I was laying on the ground. He told me, if you don't be quiet, I'm just going to kill you.
faith, trust, orphans abused. NTV investigates the praying missionaries. And DP Ruto's allies seem sure of president's support, wary of associate.
Nyinyi mnatupatia lecture na upinzani imesambaratika.
Chama ya Jubilee inasimama imara. Hakuna pahali inaenda.
Also tonight, we drive down Sachangwan, where crushes have reduced. We tell you why.
NTV Weekend Edition with Zeynab Ismail.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. My sign language co-pilot this evening is Flora Atieno. Now, there was a light earthquake which was felt in various towns in the country earlier this evening. And according to various international geological agencies, there was a 4.8 magnitude earthquake 55 kilometers northwest of Voi around Wundanyi. Kenyans online from Voi, Mombasa, Machakos, Kibwezi, Nairobi, Murang'a, Meru and Kiambu said they also felt the tremor. At about the same time, that was 7:20 p.m., there were earthquakes experienced in Spain, Turkey, Colombia and Indonesia. Now, the quakes in Indonesia and Colombia recorded over 6.0 on the Richter scale, with the ones in Europe and the 6.0. And we're now joined live on phone with Peter Masharia. He is the Assistant Director at the Kenya Meteorological Department, just to give us an upbeat on what really is happening in terms of the tremors that we're experiencing in the country. Peter, thank you so much for joining us. Good evening. What do we know so far? We've experienced tremors in different counties. What is this about?
Good evening. The epicenter of the earthquake was at Wundanyi, and it was at a level of 5.6 on the Richter scale. This earthquake cannot cause a tsunami because it is not on the sea. It cannot really cause a tsunami if it is at the sea level. So there is no alarm. The only thing you can feel at this level is maybe the shaking of the building. And for the weak structures, you may find some structures becoming a bit affected. But so far, so good. I don't think there will be any more tremors. The only thing we need to do is for the Kenyans, and especially the government, to put structures enough to make sure that we are actually earthquake ready. The people who are designing buildings should take care of the earthquakes which are occurring every other time, and not to only concentrate on the Rift Valley. It should be countrywide. We should have enough network for the earthquake stations which are monitoring, so that we can actually educate the tsunami-prone areas. Otherwise, so far so good. I think Kenya is safe, but for the shaking of the buildings, that is expected.
All right, Peter, if you can hear me, just to get a clarification from you, should we be worried with the tremors that we have just felt a few minutes ago?
I believe that people should not be worried, but there should be, in case of anybody having any problem, in case of the building, the structures which are affected, can we get in a report directly, so that anything can be taken care of by the National Disaster Operations Center and other stakeholders. So far, I've not had anybody complaining. I've not had any report. And I was in touch with the National Disaster Operations Center, and I've not had any problem as yet. And
All
people
right.
who are, people should not sit and want people and telling them to move out of the coastline. we are safe as far as our teeth are concerned. So far, so good.
All
and
right.
The attitude which occurred in Kenya is not connected with any other, which I heard you commenting about. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much for that information. That was Peter Missionary, the Assistant Director at the Kenya Meteorological Department. He says there is no need to worry at this point. Now tonight, residents of Tiati in Baringo County are yet to receive food aid as the drought continues to bite and more deaths reported. The deaths from the county now stand at 23 after 2 more people are reported to have lost their lives from hunger-related complications. NTV's Brenda Wanga reports on the heart-rending reality that includes children battling malnutrition and disease.
The scorching heat has dried up just about all the water reserves here in Lodengo. It is only a matter of time before these two are depleted by both the humans who depend on it and the unforgiving sun. The water, reduced to just about a muddy mixture, keeps those who live here in Lodengo alive. This is one of the areas that have been worst hit by the drought that has depleted water and vegetation. The impact of the drought has had a far-reaching impact on the lives of those who reside here, the youngest and the most vulnerable, bearing the brunt of the deteriorating living conditions.
Ako na wiki moja kama hajakula chakula yote, mpaka jana wakati alienda hospitali akapewa Plaminat, ndio aliweza kukula na watoto yake hiyo Plaminat.
That lack of nutrition and nourishment has left the children of these villages battling due to malnutrition. A walk through the village and the clear picture of the ongoing devastation of life becomes evident. Some of these children are older than they appear.
We measure height versus weight. So like 90% of the children who come to the facility, when you take their weight and versus their height, you see that most of them, they fall in the they fall in the severely malnourished side.
Tumepata watoto wenye wako na kwa shako, tumepata hata wengine wamefura upande wa masikio huku.
The famine in this part of the country continues to claim more lives with each passing day. A grandmother and her 6-year-old granddaughter, the latest to succumb a week after they were left to fend for themselves as the other family members migrated to search for water and pasture in Kerio River and Akule. Currently, there are 3 cases of severely malnourished children admitted at the Chemolingot Sub-County Hospital. The numbers are worryingly increasing.
Mwezi wa Januari tulikuwa na mtoto mmoja tuliadmit. Mwezi wa Februari tukawa na watoto wawili. Na hii mwezi ndio tumeshuhudia 5.
While the suffering continues to manifest in the faces of these residents, the food that the government has dispatched for distribution has not yet left the government food stores in Chemolingot. A senior officer who declined to speak on camera says the government has not provided transport for the food to get to the remote villages and to the people in dire need.
Chakula cha msaada ilikuja huku kama ilikuwa ni last 2017 wakati wa hiyo bala njaa ilikuwa imeadhiriwa huku.
The government has in the past week denied the severity of the drought, disputing the deaths reported and insisting that there was sufficient food for all Kenyans. That statement remains a myth, at least for the residents of this sub-county. Brenda Wanga, NTV.
Now, for young children, a family setup is a place of security and comfort, one where basic needs are provided and rights safeguarded. But what happens when that safe haven turns out to be the very threat to their basic human rights? Now, in 2008, an American couple came to Kenya on a missionary expedition. Their mission was to provide family care to orphans and other vulnerable children, educate and promote Christianity and its values. In their decade-long stay in the country, the missionaries are accused of leaving the children traumatized as the relevant authorities failed to detect and act upon the blatant child rights abuses. NTV's investigative reporter Edmund Nyabola unravels what exactly happened and who failed the children. Here is part 1 of NTV Investigates Praying Missionaries.
Boito location, Konoin constituency, Bomet County. It is a village of relatively high poverty and low literacy levels. Small-scale tea farming is the main economic activity here. Just the perfect setting for Gregory Hayes Dow and his wife, Mary Rose Dow, to undertake their charity work. About a kilometer off the Konoin-Litein Road in Kapsiratet, the couple leased this 1.5-acre property. They set up an orphanage equipped with a school and a church, which were both run by Gregory as director, teacher, and pastor. They called it the Dow Family Children's Home.
Hi, Davis.
Davis Bett worked for the Dows as a manager of the home from 2008 to 2013. For 5 years, he witnessed everything that happened here.
When they first came, this building was there because this used to be a secondary school for a neighbor here, with the name of Geoffrey teach.
He tried to intervene when he thought things were inappropriate, but that eventually cost him his job.
I had suspected something is wrong with Gregory, and they used to tell me that, Davis, I'm not a good person, all the time, until I asked him one day that, why do you say that, he wasn't a good person? He told me that back in the U.S., he had already been jailed over assault. He said that he had confrontation with his former wife, and he was put in jail. And he also told me that he was using the hard drugs, but he said that when he came back from the prison, he got saved and he's not using all that anymore. But something was wrong. He also had the behavior of swapping the guns on their butts. It's inappropriate for us here. And I told Gregory, it's not good for you to do that. He said, who cares about that,
Gregory's mild sexual advances were often overlooked, but soon after, these advances progressed to full-blown defilement of the girls who were aged between 10 and 15 years old at the time, taking away their innocence. Beatrice, not her real name and whose real identity we have concealed, has just returned home for the midterm school break. She is received with a loving embrace by her family. It is a kind of care she never had during her 9 years stay at the Dow family home. Alongside her younger brother, the 16-year-old joined the home in 2008 as an orphan aged just 6. Her experiences there are memories she'd rather forget. Sexual abuse, she says, was difficult to bear.
I was in one of the corners, so I couldn't hear him coming in and close the other doors.
What happened then?
And then after that, he came behind me, started opening up my shirt. Then I held on to my shirt so nothing can happen to me. Then he told me, if you stop moving, if you won't stop moving, I'm gonna slap you. Then I just had to stop moving, but I blocked my shirt from being opened. Then he tried to open my skirt because I had a skirt that could open. He opened my skirt. Then I was laying on the ground. He told me, if you don't be quiet, because I was crying. He told me, if you don't be quiet, I'm just gonna kill you.
How many times were you sexually abused by Mr. Dow?
I was 3 times.
Did you ever report this matter to anyone?
If you try to talk to anybody about this, and they realize about it, you'll get into further trouble, and it's not going to be easy because there's too many punishments that you get and you can't undertake them.
In your estimation, how many girls went through this?
For the girls, the Kenyan girls I know about, there's 7. Then there are 2 twin daughters, the Black Americans whom they adopted from the U.S.
Ismail.
A few meters from Beatrice's home is Nancy's family farmhouse. It's not her real name, and we have concealed her identity as well. Here, Nancy and her 2 younger brothers were taken up by the Dows at a tender age.
To remove her clothes, and then Gregory slept on top of her. Then we were seeing that they were doing just with Gregory. Then I went to who was a worker there. Then I told her that she's being raped by Gregory. Did not believe, so she just kept quiet. The next day again, Gregory was drunk. He came and called one of the guys whose name was, and he took her upstairs. We followed her again. Then we were outside the bush and now peeping what's going on. Then she asked again, are you going to give me something? Then I said yes. Then Gregory told her to remove all her clothes and told her to sleep on the bed. Then we just saw Gregory sleeping on top of me. Then we can call one of the teachers whose name was Madam. But she did not believe, so we just kept quiet to ourselves and knew that was being raped. So we just kept quiet. The next day again he took one of the girls again whose name was, and he did the same thing.
In what appears to be a well-orchestrated scheme, the Dows hatched and executed a plan to prevent the minors from getting pregnant. Mary Rose, Gregory's wife, had the girls aged between 10 and 15 years old on birth control. She brought the girls here to Mogogo Sheikh Health Center, a government facility where the birth control implants were inserted under their skin.
When we got there, we were sitting at the family planning door. So I was wondering, why are we here? What are we doing here? Then she told me, you're going to get an implant in. So I tried to ask her, what does this all mean? Why do I need to get that in, and what is it? They didn't explain to me what it meant and everything. So when we got in, Mary Rose went in to speak to the doctor. When they were done, she called me in. Then when she was speaking to the doctor again, she clogged my ears so I couldn't hear what they were talking about. The doctor later on told me, get on the bed and put out your left arm. And I did as he told me. He rubbed my hand and then put it in, and he didn't let me see what it was.
Show me your hand where the implant was inserted.
Yeah, this is where they put it, and this is the mark that it left when they took it out.
Did you know what it was at the time?
I didn't know what it was and what it was for.
Did Mary ever tell you what was happening?
No, she never told us what it was and what was happening till they put this thing in.
How many girls in total had that implant?
We were all 9. 2 Black Americans and the rest of us Kenyans.
She took us and checked us that if we have HIV and AIDS, but we were negative, all of us. Then she took us to have again, to check us if we were pregnant. We were not.
That was one of the very rare times in which the children set foot into a hospital or any health facility. At the Dows, there were no medical services.
They will say that you guys, you like everything medicine all the time. They will say when a child gets sick, you just give him water only, and the child will be okay.
When somebody gets sick, they say this is all drama. There was one time there was a boy named Amos. He got hit on the side of his hip with a heavy bench. Then the blood got clogged here and he started getting sick. They tried to explain this to Greg and Mary Rose, but then they kept on saying it's drama. One of the women named Williter took the boy secretly to the hospital. When they later on realized he was taken to the hospital, Mary Rose called him and took out the needles that he had in his hands and put a white tape around it and said, this is just drama, go and play with the other kids. When he comes back and tells them, I'm not feeling good, she says, this is just drama, go back and play with the kids. The next day, he was terribly sick. They saw now that this boy is very sick. So they tried to take him to the hospital, but it was too late.
Amos Kipkemoi died. He was only 8 years old. Joyce Kosgei was a matron at the home when he died. She recalls in excruciating detail the chilling trail of events that led to Amos's death. When she learned about his illness, Joyce sneaked him to a nearby clinic without the knowledge of the Dows.
I called Mary Rose, Gregory Dow. Will you please help me? The doctor says it's not going to treat the boy. Please rush him to the Kapkatet hospital. He told me, this is a drama. This is a drama, Joyce. I says, please, the doctor says you can rush him to the cap catheter. He says, no, that's a drama. Is it a drama? And you think the child is so sick? And then in the morning, the women still be, please, Amos didn't wake up. Go and help. Go and check on him. So I hold the boy. I ran towards Gregory because he was down to the office. I said, hey, Gregory, why don't you help me? Amos is still sick. He hold the boy like this, rush him in. He gave it to Mary Rose on the door. Says, Gregory, get the car. Rush him to the Cap Cadet Hospital, but it was too late. It was too late for him. There, he died there. Mary Rose keeps saying, Joyce, it's done.
At Amos's home in Chemoy Ben, our visit opens up the family's old suppressed wounds. They thought we had answers on how Amos met his death. This is where my grandchild was buried in 2014, she tells us. Speaking to us on condition that we conceal her identity, Amos's grandmother narrated how she painfully tried to get information on what exactly happened, just for closure.
Tumba besio agat ngale wara jurito. Kuwa madama. Ole maguchuta ngal demenge. Esiru tet kama chuta ngale kemenge. Mati ba ori yang ole meger. Kaigere. As ke mo ya nyale ja ale ja mati chut ngale ke magas. Ndata ke chut ko ngela kwenyon. Hi kwa. Kaigere. Age sisi ke hos kongun go itwa. To magaru.
There were 3 mysterious deaths at the Drought Children's Home between 2008 and 2017. Amos and a young girl named Jessica both died out of complications from lack of medical care. They were buried at their parents' homes. That wasn't the case for James Kipkirui, who was only 1.5 years old when he died in 2012.
Gregory and Mary Rose were in Kericho, and at night they called me and said that, please, can you go to the home, and that was on 2012, and check on the boy. The guns are telling me that James Kipkirui is not, is motionless, you know. Mm-hmm. So when I came, I found the boy had already died. When they came, they told me to go look for the grandmother. Fortunately, I found the grandmother with the mother of the child. I explained to them, and I brought them. While on our way here, Gregory told me that, can you tell them that we can bury the child here? When we got here, the guys who were splitting the firewood had already dug the grave. So the child was buried here.
For a burial to happen, you require permits,
yes,
which you get from the chief and other authorities.
Yes.
Was that done?
It wasn't done. I explained to Gregory, said that he has his own constitution. This is a small America in a village of Kapsiratet. He said that is a waste of time. He refused. And that is why when we came, they had already dug the grave. He wanted to do it very quickly. So I decided I jumped on that fence. I went to Geoffrey's. Geoffrey was not there. He was in Eldoret. But on my way to his house, I met with some guys, a pastor and some other 3 guys who had gone to pray for Geoffrey's wife. They said that we were coming in there to greet the children. I also explained to them what had happened here, and we came together. So coincidentally, as we were coming from that gate, Gregory and Mary Rose down, and the grandmother and the mother of the child were bringing the body. So we came here, we prayed, and the body was buried. I told, let's inform the chief's office. He told me, Davis, I've told you several times that you guys, you like meetings, you know. He said that in America, you go. It's not about talking and having meetings, and you know. So, but later on, after a week, I met with the chiefs. I explained to the chief.
So you did inform the authorities that a child had died, and the body was buried here, but yes, nothing was done about it.
Yes, and I also went to Bomet children's department. I met some guys in the office. I explained about this and how the mistreatment of the children. There was a child again who died by the name Jessica, and this child was very sick. She looked like she was dehydrated. And I called them. They used to stay in Kericho Tea Hotel. So I called Gregory and told, it seems like Jessica is not feeling well. So right there, Mary Rose was there with Greg. She picked the phone from Gregory and yelled at me and said, Davis, your time is up. Go home.
When the rest of you learned about the deaths of 3 of your colleagues and how the bodies were handled, how did you feel about that?
We felt very terrible because we wanted the kid to be taken to their home so that the parents and the family can do something better about it. Because they James was put into a box and then just put in the ground. There was nothing they did about it, and we don't feel it was so right for them to do that.
The community here describes their relationship with the Dows as cold. They were only allowed into the home when there were guests from the United States, and the Dows had to put on a good show. They built a perimeter wall to keep everyone away and the children within the compound. The children were only allowed to go out on very special occasions. Geoffrey Ngetich was not just a neighbor of the Dows, but the landlord who leased the property to the family. He thought they were helping the community. His affection towards the couple changed over the years when he learned of suspicious activities within the home.
I could hear children crying loudly, yelling actually in pain. So I could run to the fence because this fence was sealed. There was no entrance to my place. So I could come and climb up the fence and shout at the workers and ask them what was going on. Why were they beating the children? Then they could stop beating them, and then I could call the Gregory and his wife and tell them about the same. Then the following day they could come and tell me that they have taken action. So what I witnessed was actually cruelty to children.
How the children were being punished, they will be told to go to line up. A child will be told to look, to face the wall.
Okay.
And there will be no meal for that. If it's lunch time, the child will not get lunch, same as in the evening. There was also these bags, the sacks that we put in the maize. Yeah. They will sew those sacks for the kids. Whoever is not good, that is how they were punishing the children.
It was like beating up an animal, not a human being. They take a pipe, one of those water pipes, then they start beating the boy up until at times even they'll tell them to kneel down, put bricks on their backs, and then they're going to get beaten.
When child was get in trouble, like telling another kids bad words, they used to put the soap on their mouth. That's what I saw. And I says, why having the soap on the mouth? He says, this because he's talking a lot. He can shut the mouth.
There was 2 kitchens. Their food was prepared in one kitchen, and then our food was prepared in the other. And the kids ate from a bowl at lunchtime. They told you when you put your fists together like this is how much food you need. So they do this to your fist, and that's how much food you get on your plate. And they said that's enough. For supper time, you eat out of a CK cup, and that's enough for you till tomorrow. Then you get more. If you go for more food, then you're going to get punished because you're not allowed to go for more food.
For almost a decade, the children suffered in silence, not knowing where or who to run to for help. For the workers, being sacked, among other threats, forced them into silence. September 2017, the truth finally came out.
I understand he was totally drunk, and he dragged one of the girls to where he was sleeping, and he defied the girl, and unfortunately he forgot to close the door. So some young boys followed them. So the boys actually found them in the act.
This is where the boys peeped through that window and saw Gregory defiling one teenager who was here too. And that is how this whole thing came out. The boys were laughing and saying that he's having sex with him. After Gregory had sex with me, he sent to call her sister by the name, understand he wanted to use that girl again. That girl refused to go in and she went back to the classroom. Gregory went down and beat that girl thoroughly, removed her hair piece, and the whole thing blew up. Gregory assembled the kids and said that if you are not happy here, the gate is open. So the kids started jumping over the fence everywhere.
Nancy and another girl escaped. They reported the matter to the authorities.
Then the chief told them, go to the police station, I can solve that problem. The next day, Davis, the chief elder, and Ellen, the neighbor for that school, for Drought and so we went to the police station and my mother and me. Then we went and reported everything to DO and DC.
Gregory learned beforehand that the authorities were after him. He fled the country, becoming a fugitive of justice. Mary Rose was arrested in Nairobi as she prepared to exit the country. She was charged in a Sotik court with 2 counts of cruelty to children and 2 counts of failing to protect children from sexual exploitation. Court records show that she was released on a 50,000 shillings fine after serving 5 months in custody. She left the country soon after, joining her husband in the United States. Authorities had the family planning implants removed and all the 83 children reintegrated into the community.
Disturbing, harrowing, heartbreaking report there on praying missionaries. The second part will be coming after this break. But before that, a lot of feedback on the same. At Hilda Asena saying it is just so inhumane. The missionaries should just face the wrath of their evil. At Michael Baringo saying it's so cruel and uncalled for this to be happening in our country and more so to young innocent children. I hope the CS Interior is watching. And at Nafula Sak was saying praying missionaries is such a sad story. The world is full of evil people. Indeed, Nafula. Let's take a break. Well, thank you so much for staying with us. Let's now take a look at the second part of the Praying Missionaries, and our investigative reporter Edmund Nyabola asks the tough questions to the authorities who perhaps out of will or just total ignorance failed the children, allowing the two missionaries to abuse their rights. Take a look.
Back in the US, the Dows have settled down in the state of Pennsylvania. NTV Investigates found them at their home in Lancaster. The family has kept away from the public eye ever since the Lancaster community caught wind of the story. We tried to get answers from the couple, but the house was locked from inside. Maggie Ruto is a Kenyan living in the United States. Her intervention to push for justice for the Boito children has raised awareness in the US about the allegations against Gregory and Mary Rose.
She did a good job.
Her case is compounded by the fact that Gregory is in fact a convicted child molester and a registered sex offender in the state of Iowa.
It was a sexual abuse on his own daughter from his first marriage, and he was actually convicted. His wife from the first marriage did present a detailed information about what transpired with their daughter.
NTV obtained these documents from the Iowa District Court showing that Gregory was charged with the crime of having lascivious acts on his daughter in 1996. It further details the events that took place in his house, so gruesome and disturbing to air on national television. Gregory pleaded guilty to the charges. The 60-year-old did not spend time in prison, but was on a 2-year probation until 1998. Maggie sought the help of the Kenyan Women in the US, an initiative led by Lily Richards in the push for justice. Kwitu has been collecting signatures in a petition seeking the extradition of the Dows to face charges in Kenya.
He sexually molested little children. Some children are dead under very suspicious circumstances, and these kids were abused emotionally, psychologically, physically.
But the Dows have maintained their innocence in the wake of the allegations. In an interview with the Lancaster online news website, Gregory says, the neighbor and a former employee got a few rebellious teenage girls to lie and get his property back. Kenyans are highly volatile people. It's sad to say we live in a society where people are guilty until proven innocent.
Yes, so this is the title which I have.
Geoffrey, the owner of the property, refutes these claims.
This was purely lease, a 9-year lease. It came to lease in April 2008. April 2008. So the lease actually expired in 2017, April. By the time this act was discovered, that is in September, the lease had already expired. And they had not even updated the rent. So they were having my rent of about 6 months.
It's just impossible for people to let you live in their community for close to 9 years. And then on the last year, they decide, oh, wow, we just want to take your land. That's not what, I don't believe that's what happened.
Nearly 2.5 years since the Dow family children's home was closed, and the community here in Boito has yet to make peace with what happened here. Among the concerns they have raised is, how was a convicted child molester and a registered sex offender allowed to set up a children's home in the country and take care of vulnerable children? And how did the events at the Dow family home go on for about a decade without being detected by the authorities, that is, the local administration and the Children's Department?
Kuna msichana ambaye mimi nasema alikuwa amefika kiwango cha kunini. Si walikuwa wadogo. Ndio alianza kuchukua kama wachanga tu. Sasa akaanza kwenda kulisha baadaye akarudi.
Serikali walikuwa wanajua huko. Walikuwa inajulikana huko. Hata ukienda huko utapikwa. Ama namna gani? Na kwa nini huyu alikaa mpaka akatoroka?
The Department of Children's Services under the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection is responsible for registration of orphanages and ensuring the rights of children are protected. The department acknowledges licensing the DAOs to set up in Kenya in 2008. They even renewed their operating license in 2011, 2014 and 2017.
Gregory Dow, who was the director of the home, is a convicted child molester and a registered sex offender back in the US. How come the department did not do a proper background check before registering the home?
These people come through the immigration, they have work permits, yeah? So it is us, and I've stated very clearly, it is us when we are working with them, with the other stakeholders. Remember, my work is that we enlighten the children about their rights.
That's fine, and I understand that. I understand that that is work that is being done now. My question is, why was it not done in 2008 when a convicted child molester came and registered a children's home?
It is, for me, I don't know about what you are talking about. For me, I'm saying there was a manager, and it is the collaboration of the department plus the other arms of government plus other stakeholders on the ground which enabled this case to come out.
Would you say that your officers on the ground did not capture the accurate, nature of the events at the Dow family home?
An issue of children, it takes a long period, yeah? And it is not a one event. I've even given you an example of when sometimes we get reports, when we go, we find the reports are not as indicated. So in my case, in my view, the Area Advisory Council, they did what was within their law.
Would you say they failed in their job then?
That is my position. I don't want to be repeating the same thing the same time. I have given you the specific question, the specific answer. You are continuing on the same.
There were 3 deaths at the Dow family children's home during the period of the Dow's stay here in Kenya. One of the children, a boy by the name Kipkirui James, was actually buried within the home. Are you aware of that?
I'm not aware. I'm not aware.
You're not even aware about the healthcare services that were being provided there, or lack of them?
I'm aware about the health services, but I'm not aware about the deaths. Yeah. Normally, when there is a death in a CCI, there is a report which is given. Yeah.
So you're not given a report about that?
I'm not certain about that, I'm not certain about that, unless I find out more from our records here. But for that one, I'm not aware.
So do you say the children's department was not in touch with what really was happening?
What do you mean by that?
By not knowing, not being aware of what was happening.
You all been on the ground.
Yes.
You interviewed my officer on the ground.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah? So for me, I'm not aware of what you are asking now here.
The County Directorate of Children's Services in Bomet, whose jurisdiction the home is under, monitored inspection visits and received reports through the Konoin Sub-County Area Advisory Council. They say they were not aware of suspicious activities at the Dow home for the 9 years they were in the country until the events of September 2017 became public.
We moved very fast to close this institution and do the tracing. We did the tracing for the 83 children. Those who had close relatives, okay? We reintegrate them.
The family home was registered in 2008, and you only found out in 2017. That's about 9 years. Yes. For all this while, how did this happen undetected?
Before then, what happened in 2017, everything was going on well. Okay, but when the public now reported this case, when we went there, we interrogated the children. That is when we came to realize that this is what he did in that period.
This is a picture from the family's website. Yes. Mary Rose with 6 of the children from the family home. Could you just have a look at that picture and tell me what you think is going on?
These children are somewhat traumatized. One is yawning. That means maybe they are malnourished. Maybe they have some lack of food.
Then would you say your inspectors and your officers on the ground did not do their job in the right manner?
According to these children, even the workers, when we asked them, why is it that they had never told us about this information? They told us this director used to threaten them. That if you say this, then we are going to sack you from this institution. So these workers, the social workers, they used to live in fear. When they knew that we are visiting the home, they ensured that everything was in order.
Nehemiah Kones was the children's officer in charge of Konoin constituency at the time of the Drought stay in Boito. He, alongside the Area Advisory Council, chaired by Thomas Bett, the Assistant County Commissioner at the time, was responsible for inspecting the home and assessing whether children's rights were being adhered to. But in this report dated 23rd October 2013, Kones writes, the children are treated at Kapkatet Hospital and nearby Mogogo Sheikh Health Center. Kones and the Area Advisory Council gave the facility a clean bill of health in their reports, which was not reflective of the state of affairs at the home. Residents we spoke to say he was aware of the activities at the home but chose to ignore. He denies.
It was allegation, not full allegation. As a father, I felt so bad.
Did the local administration, say the chief of the area, visit the home at any time?
There was one time he visited the place when he brought in one of the children. Like, there were two twins. And that's the time he came in to that place.
Did he get, in your sense, an understanding of what really was going on there?
He wasn't told about anything that was going on there. But I think he knew because he was the friend of Gregory and they were talking.
The area chief, John Chiruyot, says he had no knowledge of anything regarding the Drought. His office, though, is located only 2 kilometers from the home.
Inasemekana huyu mzungu alikuwa anatumia watu wa area hii kufanya hiyo mambo yake ndio wanyamaze.
Sijui sasa alikuwa anatumia kwa sababu hakuna mtu alikuwa anajua siri ya huyu mzungu.
Kuna kisa cha mtoto ambaye alikufa pale, akazikwa hapo. Unajua nini kuhusu jambo hilo?
Mimi bado sikia kabisa hiyo kitu. Mimi bado sikia.
Ili mtoto azikwe inatakikana permit kutoka kwako.
Lazima permit apate, lakini sisi hako sikia hiyo maneno.
Hamkujua kuna mtoto alikufa na akazikwa pale?
Kabisa. Sisi hapana jua.
Mtu akiuliza kwamba labda mlilegea katika kazi yenu kufuatilia hii mambo na kuchunguza kwamba watoto walikuwa wanachungwa kwa hali ambayo inatakikana, atakuwa anasema uongo?
Kwa sababu tunajua tu wakati hao watoto wawili walikuja hapa, tulijua siku hiyo. Sasa hakuna kitu kingine tunajua.
Kama chief unastahili kujua chochote ambacho kinaendelea katika eneo lako.
Lazima nijue, lakini mimi hakujua maneno ya huyu mzungu.
The children were reintegrated by the Children's Department upon the closure of the home in September of 2017.
I'm told Gregory had
Beatrice joined a local high school where she's had challenges learning Kiswahili. At the Drought, speaking in any language apart from English was an offense.
Have you received any form of counseling ever since leaving the home?
I haven't received any yet.
Do you ever think about what happened to you there, and does it trouble you?
It troubles me a lot, and I always think about it because, like, every time there's some things my grandmom can't do for us. So when I'm just there doing my studies or something, a lot of things of what happened comes back to me. Then it just like starts disturbing my mind and everything.
If you met Greg today, say he's brought back to the country to face charges, how do you feel about that?
I feel so terrible to see him. I wouldn't be even able to go up front to him because I just seem so terrible. I can't even forgive what he's done to us and everything.
What would you like to be done to him?
He'll just I just want him to face the government and the Lord so that he can know what he's supposed to do and what he's not supposed to do. I just want him to face the charges of what he has done against all of us.
These are poor children, orphans who have nobody. He was supposed to be the person who protects them. So he needs to go back and face justice, both him and his wife.
But Maggie wants the Dows charged in the United States.
Mary Rose Dow was convicted in Kenya for 2 counts of child cruelty. And she managed to pay $500 and was given back her passport. It's very disturbing because after all that had happened, these children, the health implications, what they're gonna suffer, the trauma that they had to go through, and they will continue to go through for the rest of their lives, was only worth $500.
NTV Investigates has learned of a secret joint probe between Kenyan authorities and the FBI. Several people who were either directly or indirectly involved with the home have been questioned in Bomet by detectives. Sources have also told us that James Kipkirui's body could be exhumed as part of evidence gathering and his remains interred at his parents' home. For the rest of the children, the events of 2008 to 2017 will remain a dark chapter of their life story. Innocence lost by the unthinkable crime of a couple they called parents. Edmund Nyabola, NTV Investigates.
A very devastating, harrowing report there, praying missionaries with Edmund Nyabola. And many Kenyans asking themselves, how did this happen undetected for over a decade? A lot of feedback coming in. Let's just sample some of that. At Richard saying, I can't see how they will ever be brought to book for their crimes. The minute their flight from Kenya was airborne, they became free people. I hope you Kenyans have now learnt a lesson. We also have at Karen saying, at what point do we as a country just sit and watch our children abused and killed in the name of receiving aid from missionaries? So disturbing. We also have yet Gilbert Betts saying that was extreme suffering in hands of protectors. The authorities and community around slept. At Miss Mumeita saying, how does a convicted sexual offender get permission to set up a children's home in Kenya? And that is the question many Kenyans are also asking. How? At Kigen Kibet saying, how could Gregory even get a permit to operate in Kenya? The authorities never grilled his history in the US. Justice should be done for those little children. And we'd like to hear from you. The hashtag is praying missionaries at NTV Kenya, at Edmund Nyabola, at Zeynab Ismail. And away from that, detectives in Mombasa have arrested 5 suspects right behind me linked to a robbery incident in Makande area. Police have also recovered weapons used by the suspected criminals in the robberies within Mombasa and its outskirts. 2 of the suspects are boda operators who were suspected to have helped the criminals flee the scene of crime. The suspects were captured on CCTV with one of the thugs holding a pistol while another takes the handbag from the lady. The same gang also went to another shop where they shot a businessman and stole his laptop and 200,000 shillings. Police say they're still hunting for 4 more suspects. And on that note, let's take a short break. We'll be back with much more. Well, thank you so much for staying with us. You're watching NTV Weekend Edition. Peter Tabichi, a mathematics and physics teacher at Kerika Secondary School in Nakuru, is the winner of the Varki Foundation Global Teacher Prize 2019. Tabichi becomes the first teacher from Africa to win the 100 million shillings award. That is in its 5th year. American actor Hugh Jackman announced Tabichi as the winner at a ceremony held in Dubai. The prize money is paid in equal installments over 10 years, and the Varki Foundation will provide the winner with financial counseling. For 4 years, Kenyan teachers have represented the continent in the award that is likened to the Nobel Prize.
The winner of the Global Teacher Prize for 2019 is Peter Tabichi.
Well, thank you so much for staying with us. Now, politicians allied to Deputy President William Ruto are still hopeful that President Uhuru Kenyatta will support his 2022 presidential bid despite the disquiet within Jubilee Party. The politicians, including the Deputy President, once again trained their onslaught on NASA leader Raila Odinga, whom they accused of harboring ulterior motives in the handshake. Our political affairs reporter Kennedy Mureithi with the details.
Politicians allied to the Deputy President accompanied him for a funds drive at PCEA Mwiki in Kasarani constituency. The political leaders argued that the unease, imagined or real in Jubilee, is just a passing cloud, and the relationship between President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy is resolute.
Si tumewagiza tutawasupport bila mmetusupport mara mbili. Alafu tuonekane tukua kama watoto. Ati tumewa makoni men, makoni women, tumetakanga mtu ambaye amefanya kazi, na kama sio Ruto, haki ya Mungu, President Uhuru angepata kiti.
Tulikuwa tukiangalia runinga hivi, tunamsikia Uhuru Kenyatta, rais wetu, akisema miaka yake ni 10, ya William Samoei Ruto ni 10 mpaka 2032.
Yule ambaye atabomoa chama kutoka ndani, huyo ndio adui wetu, na sisi tunasema kikulacho kinguoni mwako. Deputy President, mimi nakuuliza, wewe utakuwa ngazi mpaka miaka gani? Hata sisi tumesema hapana, tutakuwa ngazi, tutapitisha wewe sasa, hata wewe ule uko ndani.
The political leaders accused opposition leader Raila Odinga for using the handshake with the president to bring down the party.
Hawa watu ambao wamepangana huko kwa magazeti na kwa ma-TV, wote hawakuunga mkono Uhuru Kenyatta, hawakuunga mkono Jubilee. Saa hizi wanatupatia lecture ya vile Jubilee itafanya kazi.
Mimi nataka niambie rais wetu asifungwe macho, kwa sababu wala watu wanatudanganya. Wanataka Jubilee isambaratike.
The divergent axis led by nominated MP Maina Kamanda was in Kiambu County.
Lakini siasa ya Jubilee imefika mahali hata Uhuru ndamwambia wakati unalala usifunge macho, kwa sababu kikulacho
A team comprised of politicians and members of parliament allied to Deputy President William Ruto has also been formed with strict instructions to traverse different parts of this country to reverse on gains that have been made by a team that is being led by Maina Kamanda. Kennedy Mureithi, NTV in Nairobi County.
Now, the name Sachangwan has become almost synonymous with road carnage, and while there are various theories as to what makes the area a black spot, the winding road has been undergoing expansion in the last 2 years. During this period, there has been fewer accidents, as Bridget Singana reports from Salga.
In 2009, more than 100 people perished when a petrol tanker burst into flames. Horror was to visit Sachangwan again. On December 12, 2017, a multiple car crash left more than 20 people dead. That was the turning point for the more than 11-kilometer stretch of road, whose name has often evoked ominous feelings as far as road safety is concerned.
Mara kwa mara, area yetu tulikuwa tu tukiona maiti, ukiamuka unakutana tu na madamu barabarani venye watu wamechinjwa barabara.
Ile askari amewekwa barabara asipunguse, iongeze ile accident katika Sachangwan ipotee kabisa, sababu hii hapa imekuwa kichinjio ya wananchi.
According to the Molo Traffic Base Commander, reading Sachangwan of its grim tag in the past 2 years has been a multi-agency effort. The number of road safety checkpoints have also been increased.
Tunasimamisha malori so that brakes zinafanya nini? Zina cool down. So that ikianza kuteremuka, ikiendelea kuteremuka, kabla ziharibike itakuwa imemaliza hii mteremko. Na tunaona matunda imezaa. The officers nao tunalala kabisa usiku kwa sababu hakuna maneno ya gari kugongana head on.
The December 2017 multiple accidents at Sachangwan led to the construction of a dual carriageway that will expand the road and hopefully prevent collisions.
Na karibuni tutakuwa na lane 2 kwa magari ambayo inapanda
na lane mbili kwa magari ambayo inateremka, na hapo katikati kuna barrier.
Despite the feeling by some of the residents who live along the Nakuru-Eldoret highway that some of the accidents that occur here are due to evil spirits, the Kenya National Highway Authority says that the solution to curb such massive road carnage is the construction of such walls to separate the highway. This is called the Jersey Wall, and in a sense it is believed that it will help curb road carnage along this highway. Bridget Ngana, NTV, Nakuru County.
All right, thank you so much, Bridget Ghana. And just to remind you that tomorrow on the Daily Nation, you will be getting an in-depth detail and report on the praying missionaries. You do not want to miss your copy of the Daily Nation tomorrow to get more details of that report. Let's take a break. We'll be back with sports news. Sporting action now, and coach Sebastian Minye's Harambee Stars will carry lessons from the final tie against Ghana that will be vital in the team's preparations for the Africa Cup of Nations in Cairo in Egypt. Stars, who returned at 1 a.m. Monday, lost 1-0 to Ghana to finish in the second place in Group F, 2 points behind Black Stars.
From accurate
Black Stars of Ghana revenged their 1-0 loss to Kenya.
Held on to the win even after being reduced to 10 men, with Crispinus Ochieng seeing red for a second bookable offence. The win is the 5th of the season for coach Frank Ouna's Chargers, taking them to 11th on 22 points, tied with Ulinzi Stars, who reappointed Benjamin Nyangweso as the new club head coach. Posta dropped to second last with 16 points. And 6-time African champions Kenya Pipeline will face GSP of Algeria as they seek to defend the bronze medal they won last year in the Africa Women's Volleyball Club Championship in Cairo in Egypt. Pipeline will play in the third place playoff after going down to defending champions Al Ahly of Egypt 3-1. 9-time champions Al Ahly won the first set 25-13 and 25-18 in the second, before Pipeline fought back to clinch the third set 23-25. The hosts beat Pipeline 25-20 in the fourth set to be well in line to defend their title. Al Ahly will renew their rivalry with Tunisia's Carthage in the final, also set for Monday. Meanwhile, KCB beat Burundi's USFA in straight sets of 25-10, 25-15 and 25-8 in the 9-12 classification matches. And Kenya's Fatuma's Iron Fist Zarika beat Zambian Catherine Piri by unanimous points to retain the World Boxing Council WBC Super Bantamweight title for the third time, and in the process ensure that the green belt would remain at home. Let's take a look at that report.
The Kenyatta International Convention Center was at full capacity, ready for the WBC Super Bantamweight title fight. Zambian Catherine Piri started her rematch with champion Fatuma Zarika Onahai. The 32-year-old on an energetic flow, one that would soon fade in the later rounds, with the quick reflex Zarika emerging with heavy shots to Piri's head before an enthusiastic crowd. Iron Fist Zarika won after a 3-0 unanimous decision, with the three judges giving 98-92, 99-91 and 97-93 scores.
Retaining her title, the reigning WBC Super Bantamweight champion of the world, Fatuma Iron Fist Zarika.
The win saw the 34-year-old improve her record to 32 wins, 12 losses and 3 draws.
Kweli vile alikuwa anacheza yeye, kitu yenye alikuwa anatafuta KO, na hiyo ni kitu yenye ambapo haingeweza kuhappen. Mimi ni mtu mwenye ambapo niko na experience kwa hii mchezo na nimekaa kwa boxing kwa muda mrefu. Yeye bado ni mtoto, bado ndiye anakuja. Kwa hivyo hii mchezo ni vizuri apeleke polepole ndio ili afike mahali ambapo anataka kufika.
The former WBC World Bantamweight champion and her entourage gracious in defeat.
I don't complain. Whatever the judges passes is final. So I'm a sports person. Whether win or lose, the final people to judge is the judges. So I'm okay with the decision.
Yeah, the fight was okay. When she was leaving home, we told her that no, you go for a knockout. So she was trying to maybe knock her out, but it failed. So I think the next time, if given a chance, we will do better.
Pioneering Kenyan boxing queen Conjestina Hands of Stone Achieng among the audience.
Demonstrating what she used to be like when she was a champion. She's now getting back to her real self. It is very...
In select undercard or curtain raiser contests, Aiba Continental welterweight champion Rayton Okwiri beat Tanzanian Pascal Bruno, and super welterweight Hassan Mwakinyo beat Argentine Sergio Eduardo El Tigre Gonzalez in a 5th round TKO.
Naweza sema game yenyewe wameorganize vizuri, SportPesa naweza ambia big up, naendelea tu na hiyo. At least inaweka maboxer wengine moral.
Ida Warenga, NTV.
And we're very proud of Fatuma Zarika. A hearty congratulations to you on that well-deserved win. And we now come to the end of our bulletin this hour, but just to remind you that an in-depth detailed report on the praying missionaries will be coming to you on the Daily Nation tomorrow. You do not want to miss your copy of the Daily Nation for more details on the praying missionaries. And also the conversation continues on our social media platforms. Our Twitter handle is praying missionaries, at NTV Kenya, at Nyabola Edmond at Zeynab Ismail. Our sign language interpreter this evening was Flora Atieno, and my name is Zeynab Ismail. Good evening.